Dating back to 2009, Tennessee head coaches in their first year have had a record of 7-6, 6-7, 5-7, 5-7, and 7-6. If you look at those numbers, you can make an educated guess and assume that nothing's going to change anytime soon. Dating back to 2009 when they hired Lane Kiffin, all the way up until the recent year 2021 when they hired Josh Heupel, every head coach has gone around 500. But this is why I say numbers aren't everything, because numbers don't tell the complete story as to what's happening up in Knoxville. If you didn't watch Tennessee play last year, this video is more than likely not going to make a ton of sense, and you might think I'm stupid. On the other hand, if you did watch him play, I think you'll see where I'm coming from. Yes, on paper you look at it, Josh Heupel and Tennessee, they went 7-6 last year, whoop-de-doo. But what I want you to understand is, that 7-6 season last year, it was much different from the rest. I don't really despise Tennessee, the football players, and all the head coaches they've had. It's more so I despise the fans. I know what you're sitting there saying, yo Matt, what's your problem with their fans? And it's simple, they're delusional. Every single year, I'm talking about since I was a kid, all I've heard from Tennessee fans in the offseason is we're coming back and this is our year. They don't really say the thing like Texas does where they say we're back. They say this is our year and it's never their year, or it hasn't been their year in a long time. I don't want to blame Tennessee fans solely because it's really the program's fault. They give their fans a reason to get hyped up and they always somehow screw it up and disappoint. But the past is in the past, right? There's no need to dread on none of that nonsense. You gotta look ahead and move forward. May I remind some of you, and many people don't even take this into account, last year was supposed to be a terrible season for Tennessee overall. Nobody expected them to even compete and do what they did in their first year, and I myself, I wasn't a believer in Josh Heupel because I didn't think he was going to succeed right away in that first year. They didn't even want to hire Josh Heupel. They were trying to hire all these other head coaches and everybody kept turning them down. That's how bad the job was. But to make a long story short, like I said, Tennessee goes 7-6. I'm going to emphasize that because a lot of people don't think it sounds that good, but I'm going to just let you take a look at this. In their 6 losses, their first one was against Pittsburgh, and that was a solid team last year. The second one against Florida, that was just a big-time L, nothing to tolerate or excuse there. It was a loss. But after that, they lost to Ole Miss by 5 points. They was a good team. Lost to Alabama 52-24, and you look at it and you go, oh crap, 52-24. But I'm going to tell you right now, early on in the fourth quarter, that was a ball game. Alabama pulled away late, so it was deceiving. Same thing with Georgia. That was a ball game up until the fourth quarter as well. And then last but not least, they lost to Purdue in one of the most controversial things ever, 48-45 in overtime. You have the ball bounce 1-2 different ways in a couple of those games. They could have easily been 9-3, 8-4. And that's not even counting the Purdue game they should have won. The main difference I saw with this Tennessee team last year was they actually believed they could beat those teams. And on the prior seasons, I never felt like a Tennessee team was actually going to compete with an Alabama or a Georgia, but last year shocked me. I gotta be brutally honest, a main reason as to why I believe in them heading into next year is because their quarterback Hendon Hooker, he's outstanding. I'm not here to hype up last year, and I'm not even here to tell you how good next year could possibly be. I'm here to tell you something that Tennessee did, and nobody is talking about it, and somehow went unnoticed. I originally thought at first people just didn't get to it and eventually they would talk about it, but now a month has went by and a word hasn't been said, and I gotta speak on it. A 5-star quarterback recruit that goes by the name of Nico in the class of 2023 just received an $8 million contract basically, or quote unquote NIL from Tennessee a couple of months ago. I guess you could say that's a big pickup. According to 24/7 Sports, he's the 4th best overall recruit in the country. And coincidentally enough, he committed to Tennessee when they offered him that $8 million deal. I want to make this very clear. I'm not just over exaggerating it saying $8 million. No, he literally is going to get $8 million. Remember how everybody was freaking out about Jordan Addison going to USC and getting $3 million? So why in the crap is nobody talking about this? This guy didn't even just double the $3 million, he nearly 3 times it. I'm curious, let me know college football fans, why are you not talking about this? The only thing I can assume is because number 1, he's not in college just yet, so nobody even really knows about him. And number 2, he didn't go to a big time program. Maybe if this would have happened at USC, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, people would talk about it, but since it's Tennessee, it kind of slid under there. According to the sources, as soon as he steps foot on campus, he'll be paid $350,000. After those $350,000, which is insane, he'll be getting monthly payouts, and every single year it will equate up to $2 million. You can do simple math. He signed an $8 million deal, so every single year, if he goes 4 years, he's going to get $2 million. That equals 8. And technically how all these teams are finding loopholes in this NIL is they're saying, oh, We as Tennessee, we're not paying him. It's a part of a brand deal. But come on, man. We all know we're not stupid. It's not really a brand deal. It's really going through Tennessee. I'll try to give you a good example, and I think this is a better perspective. Let's say, for example, I'm a booster at Alabama. I got a ton of money, and I want this Nico kid. He's a 5-star recruit. I want him to come to Alabama. This is how all these boosters and teams are finding loopholes in the NIL. They're basically starting up their own brand or company, and they're going to quote-unquote sponsor that athlete to get him to go to Tennessee, when in reality, they wouldn't have started the company in the first place. Let me dumb it down even more. Let's say to get this Nico kid, I just open up a random coffee shop and I call it Matt's Coffee, and I say, okay, that's how I'm going to pay him. It's going to be a Matt's Coffee sponsorship deal with Tennessee or Alabama, whoever I'm with. And technically, going by the books, that's not illegal because it's a brand deal. Hopefully that made sense. I can't dumb it down any more than that. Once again, most of y'all, you know how I feel about it. I love the NIL. I want these kids to make millions of dollars. Their careers could end at any given moment, and if somebody wants to pay you $50 million, why would I be mad about that? And why would you guys be mad about that? It's not your money. I'm all for these kids getting paid, and I'm all for the transfer portal, and it also brings excitement. It doesn't just end there. We got some more stuff to talk about, but before we move on, I want to ask you guys a question. This is just the beginning of name, image, and likeness, and it's already getting out of hand. We need rules and regulations. Because what if this said kid right here, he goes up to Tennessee and he's playing terrible, and the sponsor, whoever, they don't want to pay him no more? Or what if every month when he's supposed to receive his money, or every 2 weeks, it doesn't hit his bank account? You could see situations where a guy is more concerned about that money hitting his bank account than going to a practice on Monday, and I'd be doing the same thing. What's more important, getting $200,000 deposited in my bank account or going to a Monday practice? I think it's the money. That's not what college football was meant to be, but it's where we're at. I'm just saying, you gotta think about stuff like this. It's not gonna go over smoothly. Now, if that said sponsor just quits paying them or something happens, you could see scenarios where players, they say, okay, y'all not paying me like you said you would, I'm sitting out. Nobody's talking or thinking about that though, right? Try to put yourself in the player's situation. If somebody told you I give you $10 million to go to Alabama and you get there and they're not paying you that money, wouldn't you strike against them? I'm not gonna lie, I'd consider doing it. I'd sit there and say, hey, until you pay me my money, I'm not going out there and winning you games. Ladies and gentlemen, here's where things start to heat up though, because an anonymous Power 5 coach said that entire $8 million deal, it was a quote-unquote publicity stunt. I agree with what he said, and I'm gonna read it to you right here. Quote unquote, it's nowhere near the standard, and it's never going to be the standard, and any good program in reality is never going to want that to be the standard because it's not sustainable. It was a PR stunt by that program, which is Tennessee. It's a big deal, and it's going to be necessary, and if you don't play the game a little bit, then you're going to have no chance to sign a quarterback. That Power 5 coach, he wanted to be anonymous. I don't know why, but it doesn't matter because we all know it's a problem. It comes down to this. Should kids be choosing Alabama, Texas A&M, Florida, USC, Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio State, any school you name it? Should they be picking those schools for the money and the brand deals? No. But if we were on those same shoes and positions, we'd be doing the exact same thing. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Money runs the world, and we've just now came to the point where money's going to have a big impact on college football. Will it have a good impact? Will it have a bad impact? I guess we'll have to wait and see. There's pros and cons to everything. Some people are going to love it and like it. Some people aren't going to love it and like it. That's how life is. But I can't emphasize this enough. We gotta have some regulations, and we gotta have a salary cap like the NFL. I don't know what the salary cap should be, but you gotta have one, because right now it's unlimited. If Tennessee wanted to pay this kid $1 billion, technically they could do so, because there's no limit. And all they're gonna say, and it's how everyone's getting away with it, they're going, oh, well, we didn't pay him. It's a NIL brand deal. Come on, man. Who do you think you're fooling? I get you gotta say that so you don't technically break the rules, but you're not fooling anybody, or at least you're not fooling me. I thought Tennessee as a program, they were on the right track before they even landed this 5-star recruit a couple of months ago. But now that you add him, that means as soon as your quarterback Hendon Hooker, he leaves, you're not going to miss a beat. You're not going to miss a beat. It's actually, you're not going to skip a beat. Matt, get it right. The only thing that Tennessee's staff has left to do is surround him with weapons, give him a decent, mediocre defense, and they should be competing again. Only time will tell, and we'll have to wait and see. I just thought that was really fascinating how they're giving him $8 million. Let me know your thoughts down below. But, peace.